Some guys were born to be gangsters. They loved the violence, the drama, the reputation. Why bother with all that? Why throw a punch when you can just sit back and let some other poor sap do it for you? The real trick wasn't about being tough. It was about being smart. You stay in the background, pull the strings, and make money. No heat, no cops, no problem. That's the life. Get rich, stay out of prison, and live like a king. And nobody understood that better than Francesco Castilia, or Frank Costello as his friends called him. He didn't need to wave a gun around or break heads to get what he wanted. He was smart, smooth, and untouchable. The guy proved that the best way to be a gangster was not to be one.
You must have in your mind some things you've done that you can speak of to your credit as an American citizen. If so, what are they?
Paid my tax.
On the evening of May 2nd, 1957, a man stepped into the lobby of the luxurious, majestic apartment building in the Upper West Side in Manhattan, his polished shoes clicking softly against the marble floor. The night outside was calm, but within the dimly lit lobby, an uneasy stillness hung in the air. The man adjusted his tie, his movements relaxed, unaware of the danger lurking in the shadows. Then, a single shot rang out, shattering the silence. The bullet struck with precision, hitting the side of his head. He staggered, his hand reaching instinctively toward the wound as blood began to trickle down his temple. For a moment, he swayed on his feet, his eyes wide with shock before falling to the ground. By the time help arrived, it was too late. The victim, lying lifeless on the floor, was none other than Frank Costello, the mob boss known as the Prime Minister of the Underworld. His death sent shockwaves through the city's underworld.
This is really funny. Really funny. It's funny, you know. It's a good story. It's funny. You're a funny guy.
Well, you all know it didn't go like that. If it had, forget about it. New York would have turned into a goddamn war zone. I'm talking bodies in the streets, guys going to the mattresses, the whole 9 yards. But that's not what happened. Here's how it really went. Frank Costello, the Prime Minister of the Underworld, walks into the lobby of his building one night like it's any other night. He's relaxed, he's sharp, he's frank, you know. Then, out of nowhere, this guy steps out of the shadows and he says, "This is for you, Frank," like he's in some kind of movie. And boom, he fires a shot. Frank goes down. The guy takes one look and bolts, thinking he got the job done. But here's the thing, he didn't. Turns out the bullet just grazed Frank's head. Can you believe that? The guy's alive. Bleeding, sure, but alive. Now here's where it gets crazy. The guy who pulled the trigger, it was none other than Vincent the Chin. This guy's supposed to be a pro, but he screws it up. I mean, who misses a shot like that on a guy like Frank Costello? You don't walk away until you know he's done. That's the rule. And let me tell you, when a guy like Frank Costello survives a hit, it's bad news for everyone. That kind of thing doesn't just blow over, it's war. Guys start picking sides, guns come out, and the whole city's on edge. They didn't fuck around in those days. But the Chin? Man, he really stepped in it. It's one thing to whack a boss, but botch it, that's a death sentence in our world.
Frank Costello, known as the Prime Minister of the Underworld, was a suave, politically connected mob boss who valued diplomacy and influence over violence. Born Francesco Castiglia in Italy in 1891, Costello emigrated to the US and gained notoriety in the Prohibition era as a bootlegger and racketeer. His ability to cultivate relationships with politicians, judges, and police officers allowed him to rise to the top of the mafia hierarchy. By the 1940s, he was acting boss of the Luciano family after Charles "Lucky" Luciano was deported. Vito Genovese, in contrast, was a ruthless and power-hungry mobster. Born in Naples in 1897, he shared Costello's immigrant background but had a more violent and cunning approach to consolidating power. Genovese was deeply ambitious and sought to control the family outright, undermining Costello whenever possible.
Vito Genovese, what can I say? The guy's middle name might as well have been Muscle. You had a problem. He didn't talk it out. He didn't try to smooth things over. No, his solution was always the same, a bullet. And let me tell you, with a guy like him, problems seem to pop up like weeds. But let me tell you this one story. Genovese meets this broad called Anna. She's classy, she's sharp, she's got that look, you know? And he falls for her hard. Sounds like a great love story, right? Wrong. There's just one problem. Anna's already married. Most guys might see that as a roadblock, maybe even walk away. But Genovese, not a chance. So what does he do?
Sent a couple of cats over to his place. They took him out on his patio, threw his ass over the balcony. He had a little garden down at the bottom, closed in glass like a greenhouse. Fell through that.
That's a damn shame.
A problem for him, gone forever. A couple of weeks later, this guy's out in public, arm around Anna like nothing happened. No shame, no subtlety. That was Genovese for you, cold, calculated, and always about what he wanted.
The seeds of conflict were sown in 1937 when Genovese fled to Italy to escape murder charges in the US. While in exile, Costello solidified his control over the family, focusing on gambling operations and expanding his influence. Genovese returned to the US in 1946, after the charges were dropped, marking the beginning of his campaign to dethrone Costello. By this time, Costello had become the de facto head of the Luciano family. However, Genovese, resentful of being sidelined, began maneuvering against him. He built a coalition of loyalists within the family, biding his time to strike. The post-war era also saw increased law enforcement scrutiny, further complicating Costello's efforts to maintain control.
Genovese wanted power, that's all he cared about. And that would never happen with Costello in the picture. Luck was on Genovese's side, though. Costello was in a jam with the Justice Department and got a lot of heat from the Kefauver Commission over his links to organized crime. I mean, they really did a number on the guy. To make things worse, they even had the whole damn thing televised. Can you imagine that? A mob boss being on TV, that's a no-no. The pressure got so much that Costello declined to give permission to the TV crews to film his face. So what do? They start filming his hands. Finally, he'd had enough and produced a doctor's note and walked out of there. But the damage had been done, and he was now the Justice Department's #1 target. Genovese must have been watching the whole goddamn thing with his popcorn and slippers. The time was right to start making moves, and that's exactly what he did. He started going after Costello's hitters, and #1 on the list was a feared guy. A guy that was close to Costello, and his #1 man to get things done, if you know what I mean. His name was Willie Moore Moretti. Willie had an army of over 60 guys, and with his close connection to Costello had the muscle to make things happen. Like, for example, if Costello told him to whack out Genovese, he'd be dead before breakfast. For him, it was clear. He had to move first. Luck was on his side. Turns out that Moretti contracted syphilis and was at the advanced stages of the thing. He was starting to lose his mind, and that's dangerous in our thing. After all, loose lips sink ships. One time he told an FBI agent that a guy out in LA, Frank Bompensiero, recently got promoted to capo. The FBI agent congratulated Frankie Bomp shortly after. When the boss of LA, Jack Dragna, found out about it, he lost his shit and took it to the commission. Genovese added weight to the argument and they agreed with him. Moretti in this state was a liability. He had to go.
In 1957, the rivalry between Costello and Genovese reached its boiling point.
Look, you gotta understand, when things go down in the underworld, timing is everything. A serious move at the wrong time and the whole thing can fall apart. And that's exactly what happened in 1956, when one of Costello's biggest allies, Giuseppe Antonio Dotto, better known as Joe Adonis, decided to pack his bags and head back to the old country. Adonis wasn't just some nobody. This guy was a major player. He came up during the Castellamarese War back when the old-school mustaches, Joe the Boss Masseria and Salvatore Maranzano, were tearing each other apart, and Adonis, he didn't just survive it, he thrived. Word on the street was he was even part of the hit team that took out Masseria in that Coney Island restaurant. This guy was no amateur. He was a real heavyweight. A guy like that doesn't just walk away without consequences. And when he left, it sent shockwaves through the city. Costello lost a powerful ally, and in this life, losing muscle at the wrong time, that's when the sharks start circling.
Genovese sought to eliminate Costello permanently and enlisted Vincent the Chin Gigante, a rising star in the mob, to carry out the hit. When Gigante was later arrested, Costello refused to identify him as the shooter, adhering to the mafia's code of silence, or omertà.
So Costello, he got lucky. He survived, but let me tell you something. The message was crystal clear. Step down or pay the price. Next time we're not going to miss. And that was just the beginning. Things were about to take a real turn, you know? A whole new drama was about to unfold, and not the kind you want to be caught in the middle of. A new breed of guys, smarter, colder, and when they played, they didn't miss. You think they cared about loyalty? Forget about it. This was the start of a whole new era for the mob, and it was going to get a hell of a lot worse before it got better.
Trouble so high, ooh Lordy, now trouble so high. Nobody know my troubles but God. Nobody know my troubles but God. Ooh Lordy, now trouble so high. Ooh Lordy, now trouble so high. Nobody knows.